next question comes from Carl Johnson. He wants to know who my favorite fighters of all time were and why. I'd have to say my first favorite fighter, most of them have probably never heard of the guy before. You guys would probably have to look him up, or some people that have really been into MMA for a long time since the Pride days. My first favorite fighter was Daijiro Matsuki. I think his last name was Matsuki or something like that. It's a Japanese fighter. It's tough to pronounce his last name, but Daijiro Matsuki. His record's terrible. Like, I think I looked it up and it was like 13, 27, and 7. He didn't win very much, but that dude fought everybody and anybody, and he never quit. Like, literally, the ref would always have to stop the fights, man. He was just, he would just be bleeding. He'd just be beat down. Face would be swelled up, and he would just be standing there saying, come on, let's go. And he was always just, he was an exciting fighter. Just the toughness of that guy. That's why I liked him, because he was just so tough, man. Like, if there was a guy that you wanted to be as tough as, like, it was that guy. He lacked skill, but as far as toughness, man, there's not a fighter that was any tougher than that guy, man. That guy never quit. He never tapped out, man. He was just, you just have to just beat him retarded till the refs jumped in. And then after that, I'm a big Diaz fan. I like Nick more than I do Nate. I like Nick Diaz. The reason why I like the Diaz brothers is I just feel like they're real. Like they don't take nobody's bullshit. They look at it more like it's a street fight in there, which is what I always did when I was fighting. I always was like, this is like a legal street fight. They do a lot of boxing and jiu-jitsu, which was a lot of my background. Mine was boxing, jiu-jitsu, and wrestling. And I tend to favor the jiu-jitsu guys because I'm a big fan of jiu-jitsu. But I kind of like just the realness and the realness of the Diaz brothers, man. Like, they're just no bullshit. They'll throw down in the hotel room, they'll throw down in the hospital, in the street, in the octagon. And doesn't matter where it is. So I'm a big fan of the Diaz brothers. And trying to think of anybody else. I like Robbie Lawler. I met Robbie Lawler when I fought Jeff Curran, and Robbie Lawler is like a super cool dude, man. He's pretty funny. Like, when I was in I think we fought in Wisconsin or Minnesota. I think it was Wisconsin. When we fought in Wisconsin, when I fought Jeff Curran, Robbie Lawler was there, and he was, Monty Cox was like the promoter of the show, and he manages Robbie Lawler. So Robbie was there probably doing something, I don't know, and Robbie was sitting next to me. I was selling T-shirts and stuff at this booth, and Robbie's got this envelope, and it had Robbie's lunch. Written on the outside of the envelope was Robbie's lunch money, and he had it stuffed like in the in the front of his pants, and it was just like dangling out. It was just so funny. And I'm sitting there talking to him, and Robbie's just like the coolest dude ever, and he seems like he's a pretty real dude. I like them guys that are emotional, like Robbie. Like he seems like he's got a temper, and he gets pissed off in there. He's a really skilled fighter. He's tough as nails too, and he doesn't bullshit. I like it. If he gets screwed over, he'll call it what it is. If a ref stops a fight, like Herb Dean stopped his fight one time with that one wrestler with the goofy fucking hair, I can't remember his name, but he told Herb Dean that he does a good job and he just made a mistake. It's no big deal. So Robbie's just like super fucking cool, super cool dude, and I'm a big Robbie Lawler fan. Unfortunately, the Diaz brothers aren't really fighting no more, so that's kind of tough. And Robbie Lawler seems not to be fighting that much anymore, so I'm gonna have to think of some other guy to start being a fan of. Not too sure who I'd follow right now that's up and coming. I like If anything, I like Ryan Hall too. I'm a big fan of Ryan Hall. He's a 155-pound guy. And I like him because he's really super good at jiu-jitsu. He's like a jiu-jitsu nerd, and he has a really dangerous guard. Like when these fighters talk about like jiu-jitsu, they act like it's not effective anymore. And Ryan Hall is destroying people off his back. So he's one of the most effective guys that's fighting off his back. I'd love to train with him because I'd like to Ryan Hall's super good. Like, he's a crazy good black belt. So I'm not trying to say that I'm better at jiu-jitsu than him, but I do know more about MMA than Ryan Hall. I would love to get with him a day and just show him a couple things that he could do from the bottom to change up his game in MMA that would make it more effective in, for MMA and jiu-jitsu. I'd love to just, spend a couple days with him and just show him a couple things. But I love his game off his back. Super flexible dude. He's kind of like the jiu-jitsu nerd, and he's kicking people's ass in these MMA fights. No one wants to fight him because he's so dangerous off his back. So it's kind of like a lose-lose situation. You're really not gaining nothing by beating him because he doesn't have the title or anything like that. And I think no one talks about this, but when they talk about that Nurmagomedov guy, I can't remember his first name. That's my brain's fried. But when the guy, the one, I think he's 155-pound guy, that Nurmagomedov, I think Ryan Hall would be a good fight for that dude. I think Ryan Hall could beat him because that Russian dude is a wrestler, and he takes people down and just kind of grounds them out. And Ryan Hall, that's his specialty, is fighting off his back. So I think if anybody could stop that Nurmagomedov, it would be Ryan Hall. So I'd love to see that fight. I would love that fight. But again, Ryan Hall doesn't fight that much either because no one wants to fight him. So everyone I'm a fan of, it just doesn't fight anymore. As far as boxing, my favorite fighter of all time was Roy Jones Jr. I love Roy Jones. One of my best friends went to high school with Roy Jones, which is pretty cool. My good friend George Pfeiffer, he went to high school with Roy Jones. And Roy Jones was a super cool dude in high school. And he was a showman. God, he put his hands behind his back. He was just so athletic and explosive. He fought all these different weight classes, won titles. I think he won titles in 5 different weight classes, maybe 6. But I love Roy Jones. Roy Jones is just unbelievable. He's definitely my favorite boxer for sure. So those are who my favorite fighters are.